the shadows, that had all the potential in the world, but their whole life would crumble when they found out they didn't have a Social Security. And they have done everything that we told them to do. We told them, be good in school, get good grades, and you're going to go to university. But the minute that they've done everything we've told them to, and they don't have an opportunity to get financial aid, devastated them. Some of them even took their own lives. And to see now what the DREAM Act movement and what the Black Lives Matter movement have done to revolutionize how we organize politically in the United States is amazing. It is a total full circle for me to see young black men and women and Latinos and Dreamers really organize to demand their rightful place in this country and to protect themselves is something that's really inspiring to me. This is why I love to come to universities, because I actually feed off your energy. But this started for me in 2001, to say that I was going to carry legislation to create a loan program at the UC for undocumented students. We got that done. To ensure that we had access to state aid and programs, we got that done. To ensure that our leaders at our associated students had the opportunity to retain their scholarship and stipends if they decided to run for office and actually win, to be able to serve their student body that democratically elected them, is something that's still, I'm so proud of. And we continue the good work. We continue the work to make California a much more equitable and fair place for everyone. And we still haven't convinced, a lot of folks. But I know that in a university setting and a place where as diverse as UC Riverside, we're going to continue to work. We're going to continue to work on those folks who don't agree with us. But I'm not going to give up hope on you. I'm not going to give up hope on our communities. And I'm sure not going to give up hope on California. At school, I don't think I want to do this anymore. She's like, all right. And you guys saw a picture from the LA Times video of my dad in the fields. So one Saturday, they woke us up at 4:30 in the morning. And they put us in my dad's van. He had like one of those old school vans with the tires were smaller in the front and the bigger in the bottom. I loved it. I thought it was super cool. It was like 18. I don't know if you guys remember the 18. It was like the 18 van. And I don't know, like by noon, we're in Fresno. And my dad said, okay, you guys don't want to go to school? This is what you're going to do. And we were picking lettuce. And I told him, I could beat this old man. Totally got him. Like, I got it. He's like, all you're going to do is just do one row and I'm going to do the others. And so I told my brother, I was like, we got this. We totally got this. And after like 10 minutes of like squatting over and picking lettuce, my dad was like long gone. And then my dad did the whole thing like, well, told him, I'm blessed to have 3 sets of grandparents, and one of the grandparents that I have is the family that took my dad in when he was 18. And they're my grandparents and my brothers and sisters from Fresno. There might not be blood relatives, but they pretty much raised my dad from the age they were 18. And so he told my grandfather, like, well, I'm gonna leave you the kids, like they don't want to go to school. We were in that van so quick. I mean, we're like, we want to go to school. We're good. We'll go to school. We'll go to school. But it's those experiences of like, that tough love that we need. And I remember my mom telling me at the end of the evening, she says, look, son, I didn't sacrifice my entire life to get here to have mediocre children. If I wanted mediocre children, I would have stayed back in Mexico and just figuring out what we were going to do. I want you to be a good man. She always told me, I want you to wear a suit, and I hate wearing suits. I want you to wear a suit to work and not a uniform like your father and I. And that to me resonated so much. First of all, as a kid, I had no idea what mediocre meant. But when I finally realized what it meant, I knew that I had to serve a higher purpose. And then I needed to be an example for them, because it was up to me to carry the generation forward. And so this is what it's about. It's about your responsibility to educate yourself, to get all the resources you need to not only better the generation, but better our country and better the great state of California. Thank you.
Okay, so hopefully this works. So we have time for a couple of questions. especially to hear from some students, if we can. One in the back and then one in the front.
Hi. Hello. Hi, my name is Newman Cole. First, I'd like to thank you so much for being here. I love your speech. It was amazing.
Am I that gentleman?
Yeah, that's who
Thank
was
you.
it. Raise your hand.
Senator Lara, I'm Dr. Newman. I grew up working the fields. I grew up in a poor family. I grew up with no public assistance whatsoever, the student loans or anything else. I used to teach here at this university. My wife attended here. My son and daughter-in-law work here in various high-level departments. I have some concern about your two-sided definition of diversity. On the film, I didn't see a single non-Hispanic in the film. The point was good. I know a number of people who have lost loved ones in the river. On the other side, you indicate that hard work, tough love, dedication, devotion lead to aspiration. And I'm in full agreement with that. Where it comes easy, it's of little value. Where we have to work diligently and hard and set aside weekends and vacations and holidays to study, to do research papers, and I'm a research clinical psychologist. And so please, hold still. Please respond to the two-sided concept of diversity.
I think we tend to fall into the trap of us versus them. That was my experience. That was my reality. That in no means diminishes your experience. And so when we talk about diversity, there's no two-sidedness. It's about everyone. And the fact is that there's a lot of people that prefer to divide us. I'm not going to fall for that trap. And when I think about diversity, I think about everyone. The fact is that there is a lot of Anglo hardworking folks that are falling through the cracks. And as a matter of fact, we're losing the majority of our teen white males to opioid addiction. And I'm actually working on legislation to address that. And so, we cannot let folks divide us. It's easy. It's easy to go us versus them. It's easy to feel threatened. This is why I always say, like, being secure in who you are, you're able to really respect other people's cultures and understand that they also have challenges. It's not necessarily this paradigm of that they're not mutually exclusive. We as a community, as a state, have to work together, and that includes everyone. And so my experience is what you saw in that article. If I had white friends in my community, they would be there. But that wasn't my reality. Now, I can tell you, my friends are as diverse as ever. But my experience is not to diminish yours, and it's not to diminish an African American or an API person. That's just my reality. And I see other people's realities, and I respect that. I don't have to see myself in there, but I understand that we all have individual realities. And I think, again, that's what makes us great. This is what makes the United States of America such an amazing place.
So I'll just add one thing here. Thank you, Senator. I'll add one thing here.
I raised my hand to ask a
someone who's
question.
been doing research on immigration for a couple of decades now. Some of this demographic research that I did, it was great that you mentioned Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. If you look at the undocumented population, 1 out of every 8 Asian immigrants in this country is undocumented. So just think about that. 1 out of every 8 Asians who are foreign born here that you would meet are undocumented. Half of Irish immigrants in the United States are undocumented. We have a very narrow sense of
Canadian.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of views that we're saying, but the key point is that it doesn't help anyone when we think racially. and exclusively racially. It doesn't help the, and
I'm not thinking.
no, and in fact, sir,
But
I'm
you're
actually,
looking- You're looking at me, I'm not thinking that way.
I'm actually
Don't interpret.
arguing your point, sir. So your point is absolutely well taken, is that we have to recognize that when it comes to issues, they cut people of circumstance of diverse racial backgrounds, diverse immigrant backgrounds, which is why it's important for a state like California, where there is no group that is in the majority.
And I think we have
To
to
use
do,
that
I think we have to do a better job of, you know, it's not the intent to exclude people. It's not the intent to exclude folks of European descent, because we're all in this together. And so when we have these discussions, I'm glad you asked your question, because you can ask this question in a university setting where this is a place of learning. I think you're right. I think we have work to do to be more inclusive when it comes to these issues. And I'll tell you, and some folks might not agree with this movement, but with the LGBT movement, you know, they had for many years, that movement struggled because it was very exclusive. And once you got to having discussion about marriage equality, people can grasp equality. It became an invitation to be part of a movement. And that is something, and I don't know, Karthik, if you agree or not, but this is the struggle we have, is that the immigration rights movement still seems to be very kind of exclusive to just new arrivals. But we have to understand that if we're going to move beyond that, we have to include everyone. And that includes people from European descent. Like you're saying, I mean, we look at, you know, Canadians, we look at Irish folks, you know, they have issues as well. And there is large populations of undocumented communities there. The other thing I have to say, it's not entirely our fault. When you look at the media and what they portray in terms of what an immigrant looks like, it's always going to be a Latino. And it's always going to be a Latino that is low income, that is probably has some major issues, and that is somebody that's not doing anything good in the community. But it would be interesting to see how they would portray Canadian immigrants, Irish immigrants, Italian immigrants. And so I think we have to push back too, but I think we have to do a much better job of being inclusive.
Well, we're out of time, so thank you, Senator.
Okay, I didn't get to ask my question. I've been raising my hand the entire time, and I did not get to ask a question.
Look forward to working with you. Yeah, congratulations. Thank you.